Hello guys, welcome to Red 50. Thank you for tuning into another video. If you're new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future video. So in today's video, we're going to be going over the 2-year ownership review of my 2019 Mustang GT. I've had this car for about 2 years now, and I got this car on August the 3rd, 2019. So we're in August. It's been 2 years since the ownership, August 2021. So I felt like it would be nice to kind of go over a review of the 2019 Mustang GT as I wouldn't say call it long term, but just a 2-year ownership review. As the Mustang currently sits, it has 19,900 miles on it, almost 20,000 miles since I've had this car. When I got the car, it had only 23 miles on it, so I've obviously driven it a lot and enjoyed every single minute of it. So figured 2 years, probably a good time for those of you who are in the market to be buying an S550 Mustang GT. This is the refresh model, as you can tell from these headlights. So in this video, we are going to be covering what the car is equipped with, what mods I've done since I've had it for 2 years, and the pros and cons I've experienced in the 2-year ownership of my 2019 Mustang GT. There are some cons, believe it or not, even though it's been only 2 years since I've had this car. I've had to take it in for some transmission issues, which we will cover later in the video. Alright, so the car is equipped with race red exterior color, which is something that was high on my priority list. I used to have a torch red Mustang GT, 2006 Mustang GT, so it was very high on my priority list to make sure I can replicate the race red. They did have ruby red, but based on what I had previously, I've really loved the race red exterior, torch red exterior. It's just bright red, and it was a must-have for me to get that. Alright, so now we're going to go over what the car is equipped with. So while we're still on the exterior side of the things, I'm going to mention the black accent package that this car has. So for the black accent package, you're going to get these wheels that have 255/19 as opposed to 235/18 that you get on the base car. You also got the blacked out 50 badge, the blacked out spoiler, the blacked out GT badge, the blacked out pony emblem on the front grille, and my personal favorite, which is the black roof. It almost gives it the look of the glass roof, obviously just a painted roof, but in my opinion it looks very, very nice and really completes the look with the race red exterior of this car. As you can see, the red and black contrast really well. And since we're still on the exterior side, it is equipped with the active exhaust. I did end up replacing it with these Corsa Xtreme exhaust, which is also active exhaust. It's an aftermarket exhaust, but active exhaust. Active exhaust allows you to have these 4 different modes: quiet, normal, sport, and track mode. And then you also have a quiet start, which is the good neighbor mode, where you can select the timer and not annoy your neighbors in early morning starts. Alright, as you can see from this dash here, I do have the 401A package as well, which is the main highlight of this package. It has to be digital dash. That was also top on my list. You come up with this pony button on these 401 equipped cars. You got a bunch of different selections. Obviously, you've got different modes such as normal, which kind of looks like your standard gauge, just fully customizable. You've also got sport, which is what I had. And then you've also got track mode, which focuses entirely on the tachometer right there. So I do have an in-depth video covering all the customization options on the digital dash, from the colors to these gauges, and everything is fully customizable. So if you guys want to check it out, I'll leave the link in the description, or you can click the card above. Now with the 401A package, you also get a little bit nicer materials in the interior cabin, like this leather padding over here for your knees, this trim over here as well, and just a little bit nicer touches, the stitching on this side. You also get this blind spot monitoring system, the reverse parking sensors as well with the 401A package. So in my opinion, the 401A package is well worth it. If you're gonna be shelling out dollars for the premium package to begin with, having another $2,200 for the 401A, and given what it gets you, the digital dash and all the stuff we covered, is well worth it, and it was a high option on my list. And then my car is also equipped with the 10-speed transmission instead of the 6-speed manual transmission. So in my opinion, 10-speed transmission is an amazing transmission. The gears are stacked so close together that you're always in the power band, and it just makes full throttle pulls very, very enjoyable. The paddle shifter response is much better than the old 6R80 automatic transmission. So in my opinion, it's well worth it to equip your car with the 10-speed transmission. The transmission can be a little bit quirky, which we will discuss later in the video as one of the cons. Alright, so since I've owned my 2019 Mustang GT for 2 years so far, what have I done to this car? Well, let's look at the mods that I've done to my 2019 Mustang GT since I've owned it for 2 years. So the first mod I ever did to my 2019 Mustang GT has to be the Corsa Xtreme active exhaust. I feel like this is one of the mods everyone does to their Mustang when they first get it. Just having an exhaust. For me, I personally went with Corsa Xtreme. They are a very, very loud setup, but given that it's a Corsa Xtreme active exhaust, I still get to retain the active exhaust ability of my Ford stock active exhaust. So I still have all those modes that we talked about: quiet, normal, sport, and track, and the quiet start as well. The quiet mode is actually quieter, or about the same as the stock active exhaust, so it's pretty impressive. The exhaust is absolutely very, very, very loud, as you'll see from some of the clips I'll post. But when you want to quiet things down, you just turn into quiet mode and no one knows you're there. I have tons of clips on my channel on this Corsa Xtreme active exhaust if you guys want to check it out. If you're deciding, if you already have a Mustang, you want to see what exhaust to get, I highly recommend you checking out those videos to get an idea of how loud this exhaust can get. Next mod I did on my 2019 Mustang GT in the 2 years of ownership is this paddle shifter extension. They are bright red, so it matches the exterior of the car, but they're also a lot more visible compared to the stock ones that we get. So I did an in-depth review of these as well. If you want to check these videos out and how to install them, they're going to be in the description or the card above. Now the third and final mod I've done to my 2019 Mustang GT in the 2 years of ownership I've had so far is the window tint. This is 20% regular window tint. As you can see, it's pretty dark, but not too dark where you get in trouble. Hello guys. I don't have my windshield tinted, so I don't get into any trouble. So at night, there's not issues driving it, but I think it really completes the look of the whole red and black we talked about. Just makes the car look that much better. It almost looks like it has the black glass roof as well, like we mentioned. And overall, I mean, it just really completes the look of the car. Red and black goes really well together, in my opinion. I do plan on doing a lot more mods on my 2019 Mustang GT, starting with the lowering springs, tune, and eventually a supercharger, hopefully. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you are subscribed so you can kind of follow the build as it comes along. All right, so let's talk about some of the pros I've had with this car. Biggest has to be the 10-speed transmission. If you are in the market for a Mustang, you're looking for 2018 and up, you have to get the 10-speed transmission. That alone is worth getting the refresh model, in my opinion. The gears are stacked so close together that every time you're doing the pull, you're always in the power band. Every time it shifts, you're in the power band. Full throttle pulls are really fun in this car. Overall, it's a very smooth transmission. It can be a little bit jerky, which we'll cover later in the video. But if you're just driving around town or really getting on it, it's very fun to use. The paddle shift response on this 10-speed transmission is much, much, much better than what you get with the 6R80. The response is pretty much instant. As soon as you press the pedals, it will shift for you, as opposed to 6R80 where there will be a delay, slight delay. I do have a paddle shifter tutorial and review on my channel if you guys want to check it out, just to kind of get an idea of the response of these paddle shifters. Not to mention that it's insanely fast compared to your MT82 6-speed manual transmission. For the same car, we're looking at 3.9 0 to 60 with the performance pack versus the manual would be 4.4. For a same car, making the same amount of power and having a 0.5 difference in 0 to 60, that is a lot, let me tell you that. Which brings us to the gas mileage of the 2019 Mustang GT I have, and the biggest contributor to that is the 10-speed transmission. It keeps your rev so low when you're just driving on the highway, just cruising. I mostly average around 20 to 20.5, and my driving normally consists of 50-50 split, I would say. I'm pretty impressed compared to my 2006 Mustang GT that actually gave me like 18 miles to the gallon around the same commute. So obviously it's a huge improvement and it makes a lot more power, so why wouldn't you get that? And the most I've seen doing the highway runs, not highway runs, just highway cruising, is 28 miles to the gallon. Having a 5.0 making 460 horsepower, getting 28 miles to the gallon, in my opinion, that's pretty impressive in the world we live in. Talk about a road trip that I've taken that has resulted in all these good gas mileages. I have to say the comfort in this car is phenomenal. It's not going to float like a Lexus or a Cadillac, unfortunately, because it's supposed to be a sports car or muscle car, however you want to describe it. But it does an amazing job kind of balancing the two out. I'm sure if you were to get Performance Pack 1 or 2, which I don't have on my car, it might be a little bit more stiffer. It's still stiff, but it's not as stiff as you would expect it to be. And if you're just kind of cruising around, you don't want a bumpy suspension, this is the car to get. The seats on the 2019 Mustang GT are very, very comfortable. They've got nice bolstering to them. The padding is very nice. And for your long road trips, it's going to hold you just fine. Just don't expect to be carrying any passengers. Like I've said, the back seat on this is pretty bad. So if you're looking at the back seat carrying passengers for long term, I did find that that's not really going to work out too well with the passengers in there. Maybe you can do it for a 30-minute drive or so. Nothing too long of a trip, but if you're just carrying one passenger with you, it works out absolutely fine. The suspension contributes to that as well. The suspension is very good. It obviously is a little bit bumpy because it's supposed to be a little bit stiff, but overall it's a very nice car to kind of drive around. The handling on this car is pretty good too. I've done only autocross once, so I can't speak much for it, but just doing that and just kind of taking the turns, doing some windy road driving, I would have to say I'm pretty impressed. Again, I'm not someone who just takes their cars to the track pretty often, so I'm sure if you had Performance Pack 1 or 2, that would be better for that. But as it sits, I don't have too much complaints with that. There is some body roll, but it's not that big of a deal unless you're tracking it pretty often, which in that case you would get a Performance Pack 1 or 2 to begin with. Alright, so enough of the good stuff. Unfortunately, there is some bad stuff about this ownership of my 2019 Mustang GT. In the 2 years I've owned it, there have been some things that have kind of bothered me, especially given that I bought this a brand new car. Would have expected things to be a lot cleaner. First of all, it has to be the build quality. A lot of people mention Mustangs are not good for the build quality, and I used to have S197 Mustang. I didn't find major issues with it. I didn't really find anything, but maybe I wasn't paying attention as closely because I bought it used and I could care less. But here, there are a couple build quality items that just kind of annoy me. The paint on these cars is very, very thin and chips very easily. I've already got a couple rock chips, and in my S197, I don't really recall having too many rock chips. There's like pretty much all over the car, so it just kind of looks weird. Maybe I should have gotten the paint protection film, but that shouldn't be happening for that much brand new of a car that gets washed regularly and waxed. The panel gaps are pretty bad too, as you can see for the rear bumper. It sticks out. It's pretty bad on this side of the things. Look at that. I mean, the gap shouldn't be there. It should be aligned properly. Same goes for the front. As you can see, this hood is aligned pretty well compared to the other side. The driver's side doesn't align really well, as you can see from here. Now, one of the bad things that is kind of a letdown is the 10-speed transmission. Like I've said, it's an amazing transmission when you're doing full throttle pulls and all that stuff. It's absolutely amazing. It's very fast, gives you good gas mileage, but it has some tuning issues that Ford just hasn't figured it out. If you didn't know, the 10-speed transmission was co-developed with the GM, and GM tunes happen to be so much better than what we get on our Ford. So I did have transmission issues with this car that I reported on. There is a video on my channel if you guys want to check out. But essentially, like every time you were in drive and you were in 10th gear, you slammed on the gas, it dropped to 6 or below, it would give you a very harsh shift. Took it into the dealer. They said it was some corrupted file in the adaptive learning software, so they deleted it. It was fine. I'm starting to get it again, so I'm gonna have to take it back to the dealer again. The good thing is with these 10-speed transmission, there's not that many hardware issues. It's only just the software issue. There's plenty of people running high horsepower builds without any issues, but the software can be a little bit quirky. I did hear, I think for 2021 model years, Ford had like a new tune for their software. So hopefully I can get that tune and it will resolve some of the issues I experienced. So that's the only issue I have. If you drop it into 9, if you're in sport mode, it's always buttery smooth, shifts very fast. And so that way, I know for a fact it's not a hardware issue, because then it would be every time I try to get on the gas, it would be having that. So I know it's a software issue, but again, you're developing a car for that kind of money. Engine and transmission are 2 of the main components. I shouldn't be expecting to have some of these issues and constantly having to take it into the dealer. So it's not really the pleasant part of the experience, but given that I can kind of bypass it by putting it in sport mode or just drop it to 9th gear and then for it, and it works fine. I've kind of learned to live with it. I'll take it into the dealer soon, so make sure you are subscribed to my channel, and let's see what the dealer has to say, and hopefully they can resolve it, because I want to make sure it's taken care of within the warranty and I don't have to worry about it after. So I mean, the bad items are somewhat minor in the case, like they don't take away too much from the car, and my car hasn't been sitting into the service lot or, you know, going to the dealer, just sitting there and paying the car payment on it. So it's not as bad of an experience, but these are minor things that kind of annoy you when you pay that kind of money for your car. So hopefully Ford can fix this in the future bills and maybe take care of my stuff so I don't have to worry about it in the future. But nothing that's going to be a deal breaker where I would absolutely not recommend this car to anyone else. But yeah, overall, I'm pretty impressed with my 2019 Mustang GT in the 2 years I've owned it. It's got amazing power, very good gas mileage for what it is. It's comfortable. I can take you on road trips. It's not like a fully track spec car or something like that. I absolutely love having this car. Would I recommend to you if you were in the market? Yes, absolutely. I would recommend it to you based on my 2-year ownership experience of this car, because nothing major has gone down. And it's probably not really expected in 2 years of ownership, but overall it's been a pleasant experience. If you are in the middle of getting 2017 or 18, I highly recommend getting a 2018 and up because of the 10-speed transmission and the Gen 3 Coyote, which revs to 7,400 RPM as opposed to 7,000 RPM on the Gen 2 Coyote. Alright guys, well that pretty much concludes my 2-year ownership review of my 2019 Mustang GT. Like you saw, there were some pros and some cons, but the pros far outweigh the cons, and I have no problem recommending this car to a buddy of mine or to a friend of mine. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you currently have an S550 Mustang, comment below how long you've had it, what your ownership experience has been like, and as always, subscribe to Red 50 for more Mustang content.